Ones and zeros. Utter bullshit. Fuck ones and zeros. Utter bullshit. Okay. Look. Okay. Look. I do understand this argument. Understand this utter bullshit. It makes no fucking sense to me. It makes no fucking ones and zeros. Ones and zeros. Ones and zeros. Ones and zeros. Ones and zeros.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Lee. My first question is about the Swift development and the pace and the changes and the quickness at which it goes, because obviously the people that are arguing that Swift is not ready yet, or their first argument, which I understand, is it keeps on changing all the time. So what do we do with this? How do we deal with this? Is it ever gonna be changing? Because I'm not very sure about this stabilizing thing. Who wants to start?
It's a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, you have to move forward, or otherwise you're just going to stand there looking back. On the other hand, I know that I already have a bunch of projects that I started during Swift 1.x, 2.x, and which don't compile anymore, which need to be updated. And I get the feeling that a lot of the code that I wrote over the last 2 years is just going to be dead code and it's going to be thrown away. It's nice that it's changing, but we still don't have binary compatibility, right?
No, we don't.
That's my biggest problem with it. That this is on the timeline for Swift 4 right now, isn't it?
I'm not sure if it's promised for 3.1 or 4.
Yeah,
so
but it's still
was promised for 3. So
it's still out there.
It's priority number 1 for Swift 4.
Yeah.
According to the blog post.
And that is kind of, for me, the point where I say, okay, now I can use this for just about everything. Because right now, I can use Swift for ongoing projects, but not for stuff that I'm starting right now and that I want to pick up again in a year or so, because the backlog is just going to be too intense. Does anybody want to agree?
No.
Oh, thank you very much.
Are you kidding?
Fuck my recomposition.
Exactly. We don't need this. It's not fun.
I guess whenever you start a big project like Swift or a new language, you don't think about the first 2, 3, 4 years. The idea here is, if you look at Objective-C, it lasted 30 years. No one knows how Objective-C lasted 30 years. And probably Apple is building Swift to last 30 years more. So right now they really don't care about the problems they're causing in the first 3, 4 years, but they're looking into the future and trying to build something that in 5 years is going to be able to withstand the test of time. So this is why, of course, small projects that you start and then you think, I'm going to wait a year and then continue, they don't really care about this stuff. They care about the stuff like coming from IBM that eventually startups can use and build, businesses that's going to last 20 years. This is their motivation for doing that, and this is why if they would do ABI stability or binary stability from version 1, it was going to hinder the development in the early stages when half of the stuff is not ready yet. So this is why they were like, okay, throw this out now and then let's focus. So to me, it just it makes sense why they chose this, although it's annoying, but I understand.
Yeah, the problem comes because the goal was to do it in Swift 3, right? Yeah. We get it. This is it. Swift 3 ABI compatibility, source compatibility from now on, and they haven't quite made it, right? So the question comes: how much breakage, if any, are we willing to accept going forwards for Swift 4? That's the open question.
All right. Any question from the audience or any remarks, whatever? Just shout. All right. Wait a minute with the mic.
So the question is, what would be the alternative? So if we could simply not use it and wouldn't probably not get that much of feedback and experience with the current state, or shouldn't it evolve like it does in the moment? So what could be an alternative?
Well, I don't think people are forced to use it. You can still write your apps in Objective-C, right? So
Exactly.
Yeah,
in what?
The very good alternative is to actually wait till it's stable, Swift 4 comes or something.
No, I meant what would be the alternative for a new language, a new ecosystem, a new the next level, as you said.
I really don't like any new language is going to have the same problem. This is why this problem is here, but it's eventually going to be.
I think to an extent the naming of it has been a little bit misleading because it's not Swift 3, it's like Swift 0.8. And I think a lot of languages, as they're being developed, you would go gently through these 0. something releases until the point where you've got a language where you understand the grammar of it and the syntax of it. And then for compiled languages, you get the ABI compatibility as well. And at that point, you hit a 1 release. And at that point, then you're kind of saying, until we hit the 2 release, which is probably going to be in a few years' time, then we're going to stick with exactly the way that this works. And that's not what's happened in Swift at all. We've blown through Swift 1. If you tried to write Swift 1 now and you look back at stuff that was Swift 1, it just won't work. There's loads of stuff that's changed. Same with Swift 2, same with Swift 3. Swift 4, we're being promised will be far fewer changes, but even so, it doesn't feel to me that this is Swift 1 still. We're still quite a long way from Swift 1. Swift 4 might be Swift 1. And the fact that, an alternative could have been that they could have introduced this language very slowly and maybe not allowed you to submit stuff to the App Store, but then they don't get the really fast feedback of, actually, this stuff doesn't work the way that we wanted it to. And I think in some respects it's quite good that they've released it, chucked a load of stuff out and let people write stuff. And now you can start to get feedback and see, well, this stuff doesn't, what does it mean for it to be Swifty? And now that we know what it means to be Swifty, let's make the language respect that rather than it being something that's tacked on to the way in which Objective-C and Cocoa works. Let's make it so that we understand how the language is used. So there's an advantage to it. It's just that those of us that write Swift have continuously having to update it, going through in some respect, it's good that they've put quite a lot of effort into the migrators and the fix-its. It's just a shame they don't work.
Just don't work. Right?
No, they're terrible. Like if you look at the fix-its between Swift 3, the beta 5 and beta 6 version, some of the fix-its say this method looks like it should be this method in a protocol, but we don't recognize it, so why don't you make it private? Well, no, that's not what I want you to tell me what method it should be, not just hide it. That doesn't make any sense to anybody. Despite the fact that somewhere in the docs it says, yeah, we'll tell you the method it's supposed to be. You don't, you just make it anyway. And personal angst aside between even beta releases of Swift. I can't remember what my point was. I've talked for long enough now. I'll shut up. But I disagree with something somewhere.
Yeah. It's good. You have a point. You disagree. All right. So I will go further on another topic, but come back to this topic at any time because there's a lot of things to say. But we keep on the Swift 3 target and the fact that they are Swift in Cocoa. So it's not only getting rid of the NS. Back to the joke at the beginning of the day, it's also to me what they actually intended to do years ago, but they probably didn't want to throw us whole the stuff from the beginning on, and now the Swift with removing this a few other stuff from Objective-C feels more or Cocoa feels more at home. So number one question is, why do you think they didn't make it from day one? Do you think my impression is the right one, that they didn't want us to have everything, or they just didn't have the time, or they at the time didn't even think about the possibility of doing it this way?
I think it's two aspects. First of all, I doubt they have had the resource, the people to do it all, and secondly, I don't think they really understood what it meant to be Swifty, which is something you mentioned earlier. So in Swift 3, they've done the big kind of redesign of the Grand Central Dispatch APIs, which are going to be a lot better than they were previously. Well, previously they were just C APIs, really. That's going to happen. It's going to continue with other frameworks over time. But I think it's going to come as and when they've got the skills, the resource, the time, and and when they know what they want to do, right, as well.
It's interesting, by the way. I mentioned that last year, but when I was in at DubDub 14, I actually went to a Mac, not Mac Ruby, but that other project after MacRuby conference, which I forgot the name now, from that guy who used to work at Apple on MacRuby and RubyMotion, thank you, RubyMotion. And I went to this conference, and then after we were just hanging around with the guy, and he told me, so we were like, so what do you expect at DubDub? And he was like, well, I've heard they're working on a new language. And I was like, what? And actually, he heard it right. Because the day after, I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I was right. So, and then, yeah, slowly but surely, yeah, I don't know, there is a community of RubyMotion, but it's also interesting because he was working at Apple and trying to develop some kind of parallel way of like using Ruby for the Mac, which we're not going to discuss if it was going to be a good idea or not. But then there was this other thing playing around sites. Which brings to the question, like every time there is a keynote before, everybody's expecting big stuff and people are hearing stuff. And did anybody heard anything from some random sources?
There's going to be a new language.
Oh, yeah. The next time you take the mic to say that, because otherwise nobody get it. But Alex said there was going to be a new language. Do you know the name?
No.
Is it going to be called like ones and zeros?
Swift stable.
Yeah. So let's move to another thing which I was referred previously, which is not necessarily programming specific, but more app specific. I think this is Alex who was asking me if anybody has seen the killer Apple TV app yet. It begs the question. If you guys are doing anything, well, you do something for the Apple TV, surely, with your game.
But I haven't in a long while.
Yeah.
I did the game, which you're all going to hear about tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I haven't done anything in a long while. And I haven't had any client contracts come up with it either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, moves very slowly.
Yeah, we also at 7P still haven't had one of those big customers coming to us and say, hey, build this app for the Apple TV. It's interesting because it's nothing.
The question is, what do you use your Apple TV for?
Yeah, but the point is, it's actually a good point. Like I use it mostly, and I didn't have an Apple TV before the €1 one. Yeah, for those who missed this, there was a nice surprise. It's actually €1.
I got it for free. I didn't have to pay the €1.
I paid full price.
Yeah.
I got two Apple TVs.
I'm the only person in this room who paid full price for an Apple TV.
So anyway,
I got two. I didn't buy a single one of them.
It turns out I mostly use it for the sake of the old Apple TV. I like watching videos and whatnot, and also for gamings, like whatever this game is.
Crossy
called.
Road.
Crossy Bird, yeah. Stuff like that.
But that's the thing. It's either a Netflix box, or you play some casual games on it.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to bet that most people don't do anything else on it, or not much else. Maybe.
So Alex, I disagree.
Awesome, thank you.
Because I'm using my Apple TV for HomeKit and my Elgato devices at home, and it's a perfect substitution when I want to remote control my Elgato devices at home. Then the Apple TV is kind of my remote control for it. So this is really, really awesome. But I have a question to you. I thought when I first saw the new possibilities we have with tvOS, we have space for content, why not shopping?
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. We are actually building stuff for Apple TV because if you think, for at least for shopping, especially for fashion stuff, it's the TV is a good place because there's way more space where you can see actual videos or stuff for it on the phone. Like it's not going to be as fun. So stuff like for the very like fashionista type of people, you can see like a fashion show and then you can like pause it, see the articles, and actually buy them all through one app. So we're still like experimenting with stuff like that at Zalando, but we haven't launched one thing yet. But there is a lot of possibility for the Apple TV there. And another use case, but maybe it's not as big in Europe, but for in the US, For example, for baseball, it's a very stats-specific sport, so the stats matter a lot. And what the MLB, which is the Major League Baseball, did is that their app on the Apple TV, first of all, you can watch 2 games at the same time, something you can't really do anywhere else, and then you can start seeing stats live for the players, and then you can switch between them and stuff like that. So for a game like baseball, this is a game changer on how you can watch the TV. Normally people used to like have the app opened while they're watching on their TV, stuff like that. But now you can do it all in the same thing. So I still think Apple TV has a lot of potential, but the thing is, no one knows how many Apple TVs are there in the world, so it's hard to start thinking I'll create a budget for an app without knowing how many people can actually use it. That's the thing.
Yeah. The store is also still severely limited. I just checked the German store the other day, and I think there are 3 categories now. And that's it. So yeah, it still feels like Apple is trying to figure out what exactly they got on their hands there. And while it's fun, it's not the game changer yet that we usually expect from Apple devices, like the iPhone was, the iPad was, and to some degree the Apple Watch. I think I love the tvOS, and I got a second one for our guest room, so I can watch something while I'm on the treadmill and stuff, and I wouldn't replace it with anything else. But it has potential that's not been tapped into yet.
Where's that other mic?
Yeah. Don't forget that the iPhone launched without an app store, so that was a fuck up that now they feel like
I
it
don't
was
like
weird.
that empty chair.
But so yeah.
Take it off.
So I mean, like the iPhone wasn't a hit from day one. If you look at what the first version was capable of doing, and without an app store, you think like the app store maybe was why the iPhone was that big of a hit, and it wasn't actually even there.
So which brings to an interesting question is how do you guys get the apps on your Apple TV? I'll tell you how I do. I go to the apps I already bought or I already downloaded on my iOS devices, and this is how I discover apps on the Apple TV. I mostly never go to like specifically looking for an app from my Apple TV. Don't know about you guys.
We have still an interesting app on Apple TV in France that has launched a couple of weeks ago, which is called Molotov TV.
Okay.
And it will be a kind of a hub for all the French TV. So you can watch live all the French TV, and you have as well some kind of replay incorporated. So I still think that the Apple TV is a great product because that's the only one that is linked to such a big screen. That's the biggest screen we have ever. That's the most beautiful screen. A big problem for me for the Apple TV right now is that it doesn't support 4K. So we are shooting 4K videos with our iPhones, but we cannot render them in 4K on the Apple TV, which is a bit stupid.
Yeah. Well, you live in France, right?
Yes, I do.
You have internet connections. We live in Germany. That's another country. And I'm not even kidding. Like the kind of internet connection they have in France has been way faster than in Germany and there is no way most people in Germany will be able to stream 4K. They're happy with HD.
It's pretty common to have some gigabyte connection for 20 bucks a month.
Yeah, exactly. Get out of here.
In France.
Like
I didn't mean to be rude, but I said German people have good cars.
Yeah.
So hey.
Well,
Yeah.
that's all. That's it.
And we're going to use those to drive to France and rent an apartment there.
To bring the data back.
That could be faster than a lot of internet access
depending
points
on
that
the
we have.
roads. Depending on the roads.
That's why it's always important to test in other like configuration than yours.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure some random French developer is going to do an app which is going to be awesome because it streams 4K, and then he's going to wonder why all those Germans are writing him. Like it doesn't work.
But still, I think it's a great product for content because we have lots of great TV shows, beautiful TV shows nowadays. And this is the kind of the hub for the big screen. So even if we don't have the killer app right now, the YouTube app is pretty good. This app, Molotov TV, I've been talking about, is pretty good as well. The Airbnb app was pretty okay as well.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we don't have the killer app yet, but that's still an interesting product for me.
But I think there needs to be something more because most apps now on the Apple TV are just ports to bigger screens with same or very equal features as we already have on the phone and on the iPad.
Yes, I think I think there is another problem with this. We could make something way better with this if we could overlay the content. You could have some real improvement if you can, for Zalando, for example, you watch a TV show, you see that shirt on the guy at the TV show, you click, you touch on it or whatever, and you can buy it or something like this. But there is lots of problem with the content provider for legal issues or something like this, and you cannot yet overlay stuff on different kind of contents. That would be the case also for sport or things like this. You could do really interesting interactions if we could overlay stuff on the content. But for the legally, for the moment, it's
I know the down details of this.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm interested to talk about this because in France we have also lots of problem with this. All the content that is coming from the television is really stuck with old people, old mindset, and so it's not going to move yet, I think. But once we will be able to overlay the content, we will be able to provide some way more richer interaction.
But I really wonder why the content producers themselves, for example Sky, don't have their own app because they produce their own content. Why not have a cutting-edge, cool sports app for soccer on the Apple TV?
Have you seen Sky's iPad app?
And there's your answer.
I mean, you can start work on the iPad first, and then you can look at the TV.
The thing is, their iPad app doesn't even support AirPlay, which is the most annoying thing ever. So I don't expect anything from them. In that regard.
But they are currently creating a new tech hub over in UK, so there's hope.
Yeah, they changed the name from Sky Online to Sky Ticket. This is the big change.
All right. I'm going to go to the next question. Actually, I'm going to let the guy who asked the question to ask himself the question because I am not sure about how you want to ask the question, Stefan, about this cross-device thingy.
So that's in the context of the Apple TV or tvOS. Is cross-Apple device development an issue? So, for example, we now have adaptive layout, and is this a good idea? We have fewer universal apps with explicitly layouting for the bigger screen of the iPad and the 12-inch iPad. We just discussed the big screen we have when we use tvOS. So what is a good strategy to use the special features of the different devices? So will this be an issue? Will there be more devices coming up? So what's your opinion about the future of UX design in this context?
I think first and foremost you have to look at what do you want to accomplish, because between a phone and a TV you have horrendous differences in what you really want to give the user, because your phone is completely private, that's your screen, and your TV is in the middle of the living room. So I talked to Alex today. Maybe today in the evening we will get an advanced tvOS with web views or some kind of, so to really authenticate.
Hopefully not.
I really wish for it. to authenticate for it. And he said, "Are you crazy? I don't want to enter my password over there. My kids are watching, and they are fast, and then they know my password." So that's a complete feature discussion. I think technically we have everything in our hands to code universally, but I think it's really UX-wise wise decisions to make what to give the user on which device.
From my experience with adaptive layouts and stuff like that, it's not that hard to reuse most of your stuff if you want to go all the way from the phone to the TV. But like you said, most of the time it's different what you want to do. But of course, there's some stuff that is shared, and so But from my experience and our experience at my company, it's if you have put that in mind when you were first writing the UI or the code, that this is going to eventually be shared on other platforms, it's actually pretty easy to share them.
Let me tell you, for developing a game, it was really easy. Full screen, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to our next topic. And by the way, I just realized that you guys can see the topics that I prepared, at least at the bottom here. The reason why you guys cannot see it is because they are there. And if we start the projector, it's going to be very funny. But it's also in the live stream also. And by the way, I'm sure we're going to have one guy more following the live stream, because I just told Tim Cook that we are live streaming. Because Tim actually tweeted that what was that again? The sun is shining or whatever. Actually, I just realized I tweeted this on the Objective Cologne Twitter. Anyway, next question is about watchOS, or about not watchOS, or what is it with watchOS, which is not like it's 3.0, but it's still like pretty slow and not so super useful. That's the way I would put it. I've got this guy since like 18 months. Maybe many things are going to change today in terms of the hardware, but the software, we know what it's running. It's running watchOS 3. Sure, there are a bunch of great things in watchOS 3, but it's still like for a developer. I'm going to be honest. I haven't looked at watchOS 3. But my last experience with watchOS, which was watchOS 2, was terrible from a developer point of view. I just wanted to die after that. And it's very interesting because I was like going at Andreas, my boss, and telling him I want to be the one in the team who does this watch app. And then I did it, and when it was finished, I literally told him I don't want to be the guy anymore who do any watchOS app. And I don't think it became way better. I'm somehow highly guessing watch connectivity is still not really connecting. And yeah, so what is it? And do you think anything is going to change? And same question with the killer app. I mean, it's still the time, which is the killer app, or actually the notifications, whatever. But for having the notification, to be honest, I can have my Pebble. It's almost as good. So yeah, I don't know. A little bit unsatisfied personally. You have both choices.
I got the exact same experience.
Yeah.
So huh?
Oh yeah, you are agreeing.
I am very sorry, but I have to agree.
Yeah, I have to agree.
To me, the killer app is the fitness stuff. I think it's for running or for whatever. It's way better than anything else out there. Way more accurate. Also, and right now you still have to run with your phone if you want really accurate data. But if they put GPS, then it's going to be the best fitness tracker, I think.
That's why I was looking in the room, because my colleague, actually, René, left the building, which is sad, because he was one of the first guys with me to have a watch, and last week I realized he has this Garmin, big, huge watch. It's like Flavor Flav watch, but on the arm. And you're awesome if you get that reference, by the way. But the main reason why I ask you, so why did you left Apple? And he was like, GPS, because he's running, and he didn't want to run with his phone in his pocket.
Yeah, and that's it, because you don't have any possibility to really track your track.
Track your track.
No, but like what the documentation, what Apple says is that if you run with it more than, I don't know, 10 or something times, eventually it's going to know your stride, and then if you run without it, it's going to give the same accurate data. And I was, being the nerd as I am, I tried that. And so I ran 5 times with it with the GPS, and then I know a route that's exactly 5K, and I ran with it without the phone, and it was exactly 5K. So I think eventually it gets to know how like how normal Fitbits or without GPS, like how big your stride is, and it actually calculates it pretty accurately.
That sounds like a weird algorithm, by the way. Like if it's exactly 5K, it means you are exactly running the same track again. But it's potentially not the case.
No, but the watch still doesn't know the track. I know that this is.
Ah, okay, that's what you mean. Okay, the other way around.
Yeah, the watch doesn't know the track, but I know that this is 5K. So it got me the same number exactly. So I think that's good. But yeah, I think to go back to watchOS 3, to me it is watchOS 1.0 because they've basically rebuilt the whole navigation and they changed what the buttons do and everything.
So who worked with watchOS 3, developed with watchOS 3 for the last weeks or so? Alex? Somebody in the back? All right.
That actually kind of answers your observations why a lot of stuff is still slow. Like you kind of give people some time to like implement these improvements.
Oh yeah, but I'm speaking about the native apps from Apple even.
Okay,
Sometimes they are even sometimes slow. And it's not only about the slowliness, that might be fixed by hardware at one point. It's about the general like concepts behind the watch and nothing as, I mean, I love the dock, for example, like the last, whatever it is, 8 apps. That's a good way of having it. But sometimes it's like, yeah. And I give you another example, but it's probably because of Bluetooth own fault, and I have been working a lot with Bluetooth here at 7P, so I know Bluetooth is not always awesome. But I have this automatic door opener, new key. It's a company from Graz in Austria, which basically open your door with your phone, so I don't have keys anymore. And they have a great iOS app, very simple but great. And they came up with the Watch app, and I wanted to use it, and most of the time it doesn't work. And I cannot blame those guys because I've been there. I know there is something going on there which is not working with watch connectivity, for example.
So what do you do when your phone is out of battery and you want to get in?
I just knock the door and somebody opens inside.
That's why you have 4 kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
So somebody's always at home.
Yeah. No, my phone is never out of power. It's a good question, but my phone is never out of power.
What if I steal your phone? I have access to your house.
What if you steal my key? It's the same problem. I mean,
you don't know where the house is, but you can ask the phone.
Take me home. Siri, take me home.
Siri, take me home. And oh, I got a key.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm sure there are some concerns, but yeah, I won't invite anyone from you guys now because I know you all want to break into my house technologically.
So I think, or I'm not sure if it's going to be better in the future with new watches, because Apple tends to make things thinner. And therefore...
Well, the rumor says they're not going to do for the Watch 2. The rumor says they're going to have a thinner screen and more battery. That would, by the way, makes also sense.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Can we please get that for the phone too?
Well, that would be awesome, right? Yeah. But usually you are right. Usually I would be afraid that they have a thinner watch, which would be great from just a bare design, like industrial design perspective, because this thing is a little bit thick. But from a battery design, no. Don't make. And I have the 38, by the way. I'm a 38 millimeter watch lover, so it's enough for me. I live a day with the watch.
I think while there's still a lot of sort of wrong with the watch and watchOS, I think it's actually a good sign, like from Apple, that they had the guts to clean the slate a little bit with 1.0. And that itself also proves that the watch is still a bit of an infant product. Like it's still a journey. And personally, like there's a lot of things that I hate about the watch and the sort of the fact that, for example, I never used the big button. Like it's completely misused, I think. But like I have faith that at some point. They're gonna straighten out a lot of these things, and like overall, my watch is still on. A lot of people sort of gave up. This is not for me. I quite like the watch, and I hope it's gonna get better and better. And I'm happy that Apple isn't fixed on some singular vision of how they think it should work, and it's good that they're willing to improve and change.
Yeah, like in WWDC, normally when they talk performance stuff, they compare the phone to an Android phone or something, but last time they compared the watch running OS 3 to the watch running OS 2, and they made fun of OS 2, which kind of shows how they know that they were wrong and they made bad assumptions, and now they're trying to fix it. So it looks like it's in a good direction.
Okay, cool. Next topic. Well, you're gonna love that topic, Manu. Obviously, playgrounds on the iPad. The first time I saw that, I was like, "Whoa! Is this like the future of an kind of an Xcode Lite?" This is already an Xcode Lite, to be honest. It's just called something else. So, where do you see this going in different directions for us developers to play around basically on our iPad and potentially like merge this code to the big code base or whatever?
I mostly see this as a big chance for education.
Yeah.
I had the chance to pick up one of my nephews. I put him in front of an iPad with the iOS 10 beta on it and let him go at it and do the playgrounds, you know, with the one with Byte, the character that you can move around, and where you use code to solve these problems. And he learned a ton doing that. And that was fantastic. I can only imagine where this is going to go in terms of being able to educate, especially young people, about coding once more people start creating content for that.
Well, I'm sure it is, and I'm sure this is the direction they want it to be at first, and also they make it fun, because with all those scene kits animations, it's like the complete opposite of running programming with C++. But I guess my question is more like, are we going to be like grown-up kids, so to say, able to do some actual kind of work on the iPad on the go, like fixing a module or whatever in our app?
I feel like it's going to lead to more kids arguing about dot notation than more than us actually using it. Yeah.
So it's not going to happen. I'm sorry, Manu. I know too. People are not going to publish their documentation in iPad playgrounds for one reason: you can't Google them, right?
Now.
And they're really pretty. They look lovely, and they are fantastic for education. But for developers at the coalface, day in, day out, I just can't see it taking off. But maybe I'm wrong.
I disagree. Of course.
Yeah. We have a winner.
I mean, it's definitely hard to see this coming anytime soon, and especially if you kind of realistically look at all the other sort of developer-oriented tools on the iPad. I don't think developers particularly embrace the iPad as part of their routine, and I'm sure there's a few exceptions out there, and it's a nice fallback, you know, to go on a holiday and or like if you're going somewhere, you just have the iPad and you need like a quick fix, and it's nice to have, you know, stuff like SSH and Coda to sort of do a quick fix or just check out a repo like on the go. These are like nice things, but obviously that's not even close to a proper tool.
People complained to IBM that the sandbox didn't work properly on iPad, or it was too hard to use. So yeah, there are people out there that want to write code on an iPad.
So I think two things. First, they need to port the iPad app of the Swift Playgrounds to the Mac. Easy thing, kind of. Next, make a store out of it, because you can Google iBooks, then they are findable on Google. So that would be an easy one, and that would be very nice to really get authors or coders to really sit down and write their documentation, write their tutorials, or however you want to call it, for the playgrounds. So not for the iPad, so for the playgrounds. And Xcode Lite, sorry, you even can't create new playground pages on the iPad currently. So it's really just this one blank site you see, and you can fill up with your spaghetti code. I don't want to be pessimistic, but if you blow this up to an IDE Lite, then it's not easy anymore.
I would love to see a better Xcode. And when Xcode is good, then go and make another Xcode for the iPad. But right now, it's a pain to write code in Xcode, and pain to write code in a playground on the iPad. So it's really, I would like to have a better Xcode first.
I think from the point of view of using the iPad for development in any sense, the thing that whenever I've done anything, and we're not talking very much, we're kind of looking through Git commits and that kind of stuff. The thing I really suffer with using an iPad versus OS 10 or macOS is the multitasking type aspect of it. In the actual fact, when I'm coding, I'll have Xcode, I'll have the simulator, I'll have Stack Overflow, obviously, because that's where my code comes from. And I'll have various other Git things open. I'll have lots and lots of stuff visible at once, or at least really, really easily accessible. And the current way that multitasking works on an iPad, and I only have a little iPad, so I don't have one that does the full split screen thing. I don't think that's the way that I don't think that two things is what I need. I need all kinds of things, and I need to be able to arrange them how I want. I need to be able to quickly switch between them, which I don't think you can do yet on the iPad, and I don't know whether you will be able to do that because of the way that it works. I wonder whether the scary thing about saying Xcode Lite is saying, well, we could do everything in there. Like it's already got source control stuff built into it, so we can all use that. We don't need anything else. It's got documentation in it. We don't need to go anywhere else for it. Well, in reality, I think we do. I use Dash for documentation. I use GitHub for Git stuff. I use different browsers and things for different things. And I think that my experience of development is having lots and lots of stuff open, and it's a very personal experience. And if you try to enforce that in an iPad where you can look at two things side by side, or if you want to, you can switch full screen, but it'll take you about a second to go between one thing and another, I think that'll really hamstring you. So even if you could actually get Xcode running or some simile of it on an iPad, which, like you say, I don't think we should do, because let's fix the thing we have to use before we start inventing new things, then I don't think people would want to use it, because that's not the flow that we tend to use. Nobody opens up Xcode, big screen, and then spends their day in it. Or if they do, they're not me. Does that make sense?
So one thing that actually playgrounds could replace is maybe the documentation part. So after that talk today, I was totally amazed, and so maybe we can actually just put the whole documentation in a playground, because it cannot be slower than the original documentation anyway. So so let's just put it all on the playground and just put it on the iPad so I can read it on the go.
But be careful, there are pitfalls where you can really slow down everything. Yeah, not only the 50 pages, there are some other kind.
Yeah, but basically I started creating playground documentations for my open source libraries, and that works pretty well. Especially we get a lot of new users who were like new to the whole Xcode environment thingy, and if we just tell them like, download the playground, open it, it will just work. That is awesome. So it's not only like education, and usually everyone, when we talk about education, thinks about children, but it's also education for developers. So talking new concepts.
Absolutely.
I've once done a playground for functional concepts or for functional reactive programming, which usually scares everyone. And if you just put it on a playground and put some pictures in, people tend to like it. So I think there is a space there, but it's not day-to-day coding.
Yeah, I agree. And I have to add something what you said. Have you ever thought the other way around? We have this big iPad Pro. Why not run macOS on it? Why not? Why is such a powerful device bound to iOS?
It is such a powerful device because it's running iOS. Yeah, right. If it was running macOS on that processor, it won't be that fast. It's a very powerful iOS device. It would be a very bad macOS device.
And iOS was a possibility for Apple to get rid of stuff.
Yeah. Have you ever used macOS with a touch screen?
That's a good segue to the next topic.
You don't want to.
It's a good segue to the next topic. So let's forget for a moment that we are developers, and even though we are, and let's stay on the iPad, and you will see that's something which I'm very passionate about, and about the future of macOS or the present of the iPad. I'm going to tell you a story. I had this parental leave for 2 months, and I went on vacation for 6 weeks, and the nerd that I was thinking, do I take my laptop or not? Because it's 6 weeks, it's a long. And I've never really used a lot my iPad, to be honest. So I went crazy and decided I'm only going to take the iPad with me, with the very cool foldable keyboard from Microsoft. And I actually survived. I was proud of myself, and I was happy about iOS 10, that so many stuff are actually convenient and starting to like shape in the direction of kind of a macOS-ish So do you think, how do you think the things are going to evolve?
I think
and before we ensure that, I'm going to do something very funny. You know, we are normally, there was this empty chair at the beginning. I need this chair.
Oh my God.
Because actually we have 10 speakers. Turns out the last speaker just arrived. So Niels, would you join the panel? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Niels van Hoorn. Hi. Welcome.
Thanks.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just arrived on the plane.
Go ahead.
Welcome. Yeah, but to answer your question, I think that for now and for the foreseeable future, the whole truck versus car analogy that Steve Jobs proposed still holds up, where macOS, even for the foreseeable future, for the next few years, is going to be a tool for professionals who need to do a professional job with something, like software developers. We just established that running a full IDE on an iPad is not ideal.
I never said a full IDE.
Would come with a lot of challenges. Okay, you said Xcode Lite.
I said Lite.
So, one other thing is a bunch of other professionals have the same issues. I think the publishing industry would probably have issues with this. I know photographers have issue with that because I was on vacation too for just 3 weeks, and I took a MacBook with me because Lightroom on the iPad doesn't allow me to tag stuff and to write titles and stuff. So that's why I took a MacBook with me, not to code, but because of photography. Okay. And yeah, a bunch of other professionals are going to have similar issues. So macOS is going to be more of a niche in the future. That's my take. Because regular people don't need a computer. Mm-hmm. They already don't need one now. And I'm seeing this in people like my parents who have never been have never had much of an affinity for technology to begin with, but now they have iOS devices. I couldn't get them to use a Mac before.
It's also interesting from a commercial point of view, because do you guys remember the PowerBook 17-inch? The reason why they left it's because they apparently only sold 50,000 of them worldwide. It's a ridiculous number for a company like Apple. Imagine a time in like 10 years where the only guys buying MacBooks would be us. Is it viable for Apple to build those laptops for only us? I don't know.
We'll still have the same models, so I mean, they want them themselves as well. So I mean, they're using them themselves.
Well,
as well.
Yeah.
I
obviously,
mean, it would be stupid for them not to make.
Well, but think about the screens. For example, they left the display business. I'm not telling you they're gonna leave the MacBook business, the laptop business, the computer business. I'm trying to imagine the only reason would actually be because they have to dog food. It's not gonna. What I'm trying to explain it's not gonna be a big cash cow anymore, or has it been at all at one point compared to iOS? Probably not.
But we have to write the apps for the people.
Well, yeah, exactly. So it's more like an investment in us. Like it's basically the €1 Apple TV. That's what it is.
So do you think then in 30 years' time we'll still have us monkeys banging at keyboards, or will software development have completely changed? Will we be in some kind of, what do you call it, Minority Report kind of building an app and dragging things around, or talking to a computer? So, I mean, because the reason that we need something this powerful, and there's no reason why you couldn't use an iPad that has all of its power somewhere in some kind of cloud location, as long as the network was fast enough. And if I don't have to sit and type, or I don't have to use a big screen, there's no reason why I need a keyboard. There's no reason why I need a really powerful thing to put on my knee, or with these big screens and things. So depending on how software development changes, if we're then kind of talking to a computer and saying, I don't know, hey Siri, build me an app to do this. I mean, Siri won't work because Siri's terrible, but you can imagine, if you're then doing instructions via talking to it, which is what we all apparently need to be doing, then do we still need a laptop? Can we do it with something much smaller? And I think that is a larger question of what will our jobs look like in 30 years' time? I mean, obviously, we'll all have made millions out of the apps that we're building, and we'll have all retired, but the next generation of people what will software development look like? And I have a feeling that it'll probably look fairly similar. We'll all still be sat there in front of computers that are a lot more powerful.
Remember that next generation is actually now playing around with the playgrounds on iPads. So I don't know if it's going to mean anything at one point. I don't know. They grow up with a different scheme than we grow up. That's my point, right? You know, like
I think it's quite the same because you still have screens, you still have keyboards. Yeah, the keyboards are on screen. Wow. But you still have the same devices. We use mouses, we use keyboards, we use displays. Same, just different.
Yeah.
But what if the computers and the AI start to write programs?
I mean, if we survive this, then then it's a mission accomplished anyway. Yeah. If we survive it, then mission accomplished anyway.
No, but I don't. I mean, we've heard that for 20 years.
Yeah, but I still think 30 years is a very long time in the tech world. Like I really don't know. Like if 5 years from now we're still going to have an iPhone. So 30 years is like, imagine 30 years ago. 30 years ago, the best thing was the MacBook, the Macintosh. And so, and
by that time,
128 kilobyte RAM. So 30 years from, and it has been growing exponentially ever since. So I think 30 years from now, we definitely won't have laptops. Like if we still have laptops, then it's going to be very disappointing.
And maybe, who knows, in 30 years, Trump will be the CEO from Apple.
Trump?
Yeah. I mean, nobody knows.
Yeah, so basically talking about machines writing code for us, I think that will be a thing, but just to some extent, because maybe you've recently seen this really great comic from XKCD about two developers talking to each other, and one is asking, like, what if we could find a language to talk to computers to make them exactly what we want to do without programming? And the other one responds, well, that's code. And basically that's where we're heading to. So maybe it gets more high level, it gets more extensible in all directions, but in the end it will still be some kind of coding, which might involve a keyboard or not, but in the end, I guess something like a coder will never be replaced.
It will have a Minecraft interface.
Oh,
maybe.
Gosh. Or a Pokemon Go interface.
No.
People would go around looking for Stack Overflow solutions.
For coding.
Yeah.
Yep, that's gem.
Based on what Sam said, basically we just need a deep learning algorithm that picks up on Stack Overflow. We're there.
I'm afraid.
You could be the one who builds that deep learning thing.
Yeah. Stack Overflow, the sky is the limit. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna add. I'm gonna keep on a little bit because this is also fun, and the food is gonna be here in 10 minutes, so we are no pressure. Kind of the last topic that I have, but if you have other questions, just raise your hand. Is this little guy here, which looks like an iPhone 5 or 5S, but it's a SE, and what I call so the name of the topic, because you guys can see that, is small devices versus fridges. What I call fridges are basically those big devices. I had a 6S for like a month. I know some people have pluses even. I love having the 38 millimeter watch because I think it looks too big, the 42. Anyways, Apple seems to me like being the last one of like coming back to this SE thing. When I saw the SE, I was super excited because this is just awesome. This is a phone I can hold in my hand again, and with the power of the 6S. But if you look on other markets, like if you and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look on like Windows Phone or Android phones, it's very hard to get a tiny phone with great specs. Most of the time, just like on the laptops, tiny means bad specs, and this is not the case of this guy. So is Apple like the last on this market, or why did it came back to this market? Probably because a lot of us asked them.
Yeah, so I have an iPhone 6. I have a big hand, so it fits the side of my hand, but I've never gotten the idea of a Plus because it felt always too big. But then when it first came out, my friend got it, and I was like, why did you get the Plus? And his reply was like, and because if there was a plus, I would have gotten that too. And so this sounds so weird to me, but apparently the people like big phones. I don't know why, but they want to look stupid with a phone like bigger than their face. So I think Samsung and the other companies are actually chasing the market. People want bigger phones, and so they're giving it to them.
Yeah.
And Apple kind of did the same with the 6 and the 6 Plus, but I'm glad they still have they did the SE and they never didn't forget the small size, because it actually is a very good phone.
Yeah.
So I think it's harder to make the SE a powerful device because of the smaller size. So this is why probably Samsung and other phone makers have the cheap device small and the more expensive one big. But so I don't see if Samsung or these companies going to make a good small phone, but I think Apple will always have that one because it just makes sense from an engineering point of view, from a usability perspective. You know, they used to make these ads where you can touch the whole phone with your one thumb.
Yeah.
And then they kind of made the 6 Plus where you can't. But yeah.
I think that big phones, phablets, what we call the phablets, are pretty successful in Asia. So that may explain also why.
Where people have small hands. Yeah, go figure out.
Yeah, but that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that might explain why we are still seeing those big phones.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure those big phones are successful, and I'm sure there's a market for this. But then it was interesting to see Apple come like 2.5 years later with an update on the 5S, which was, I mean, I didn't wait this really. I was not really expecting it to happen. I expected basically the 5S to die at one point, and that's it. I'm screwed. That's also why I went from the 5S to the 6S, because there was no SE at that time. But Apple somehow heard many of us saying they wanted a small phone again. No. Or giving a mic. No. No. So why do you think? So because you probably know why.
Very simple. Because with the 6S and the 6S Plus, have you seen the prices of these devices? And the storage of these devices? And the phones are getting more and more expensive. And Apple is completely losing not even the low end, but the mid end. And so they didn't hear you that you want a smaller phone. They heard the pressure that they need a cheaper phone. And the SE is not the same. It's not as you could get a 6S at the same price of an SE and be like, oh, I like the smaller phone. I'll take the smaller phone. No, you get a phone at a substantially cheaper price.
So what did said Mike, again, bullshit? I'm going to quote him, because I have to disagree. Because I think they could have totally done the lower price with just something like the 6 or the 6S again. Like they don't have to go smaller to be cheaper. That's my point.
But then it's a bad phone, and Apple don't want to ship bad phones. If you put old hardware into this device, this is not an Apple device.
But they've done this for years, right? They sold like the earlier versions cheaper, and they could have but they did that for years, and
that's bad.
I agree,
but it might be bad, but
I
that's
mean,
why your argument doesn't make sense, because they could have keep on doing this forever.
I still don't believe it's the price. Like personally, I haven't I haven't talked to a person who would buy the SE and say, oh, I just bought it because it was the cheapest iPhone. They just like the format, and if you want a cheap phone, then you usually buy a used iPhone, or if your priority is that you want something cheap, then you might go for an Android as well, because I mean, if that's your priority, right? It's kind of a personal choice. If you don't care about iOS and you just don't want to spend money at all, then that's your call. Who knows what the analysts within Apple really meant. I do believe that they kind of recognize that the small format is still popular, and the sort of the iPhone 5 series was a good design, and they just sort of upped the spec. I mean, it was obviously cheap for them as well, because you don't have to reinvent everything every single you don't have to come up with some kind of new generation of small phones. I don't know, it just kind of killed all the birds with one stone.
And I think the argument the people could go to Android. This is exactly the thing Apple has to face and has to challenge, and that's why I agree with you that they wanted to stay in a region where people can buy the phone who can't buy a phone for 1,000 euros.
Yeah, definitely. I think they did something wrong with the C, yeah. So the 5 Cs they disappeared completely.
You mean the colors were wrong?
Not just the colors were wrong. I think the whole phone were. Yeah, it was a try.
Yeah, yeah.
And now they have they have the price argument. It's lower price segment or middle price segment. Low. It's not low basically. And they have this. I want to have back my form factor I loved. So this is kind of as you say, you don't care that you get less tech
Well, the only less
for a
tech
lower
you
price.
have is 3D touch, and the front-facing camera is not as good.
And you don't have
Touch
a
ID.
barometer.
And Touch ID is not as fast. I don't care.
Yeah.
I actually like it, but that's not that fast.
Yeah, sure. You don't care, but it's
because it was too fast on the 6S. Seriously, how many times did you just want to look at a notification?
They're
and you're
getting
like,
religious. I like
they
it.
fixed it. They fixed it with iOS 10.
Potentially. I don't know because I'm not running iOS 10 on the 6S. But yeah, all right. So we're almost done. But as a last subject, because now we're gonna go to enjoy the terrace again for another hour and a half until the keynote starts. The general question, that's the killer question. What are you expecting for tonight? Anybody wants to do some wild guess? Oh yeah, we know everything already.
A thinner phone.
As usual.
iPhone 7 SE.
So you mean that's an iPhone SE with a 3D touch on it?
No, it's an iPhone 6, but then
I think the iPhone.
Gosh.
I think it would finally have the same water-resistant waterproofing like the Apple Watch.
Oh yeah, that's a good
which
point, by the way.
should be very good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've been, I don't know for you, but I've been waiting for this for forever, because there are a bunch of companies who actually can pat your phone, and also Samsung has been doing it.
You can
also.
watch Netflix in the shower.
Yeah, that's as much detail as I will give.
what I'm really looking forward to is how they spin, like if they don't have a headphone jack, how they spin it. Like how they're going to say, yeah, we removed this. And how they're going to say, oh yeah, this 6 Plus or 7 Plus has a great camera. And then we have the 7, which doesn't have that, right? I'm really looking forward to their explanation of this problem.
But
that
it's
they
the same with
created
6,
for
with 6 and 6 Plus, right? It's the exact same thing.
Well, I don't know.
It's only the stability, right, on the Plus. It's not the camera, which is better.
Yeah, the rumors are that the camera on the 7 Plus is going to be way better than the 7.
Well, then again,
We'll see.
it stays a smartphone in terms of camera, whatever you do.
I'm not especially expecting something for the iPhone. I think this new iPhone will be more like a minor version than a major version. It's more like an iPhone 6.1 than an iPhone 7. Same form factor, not really much changes. But I have way more expectations for the MacBook Pro lineup.
Probably won't be today.
Won't be today. Let me dream.
You can dream it for 1 hour.
I want to believe.
I
still have 1 hour and a half. I want to
And
believe.
remember, he said Germans are nice.
You can start tweeting Tim Cook. Maybe he changed his mind.
And now will be the great time.
In the last
to
2
change
minutes,
this.
they're going to go like, hey, we've got new MacBooks, by the way.
Yeah, one more thing should
I
be
saw
great.
this tweet and I just...
And especially a Touch ID on MacBook should be something.
I mean, it's probably going to come at some point. The rumor mill is crazy on that. But I always like to think of every Apple event is that, I mean, it's always time-limited event. And Apple, each part has to be very well explained, especially the headphone jack. I mean, it's going to be some explaining to do. So I don't see anything else fitting in there.
Do you think they're going to have to
Really.
justify all the headphone jack? I don't think. I feel they will just keep on justifying it. It's just a logical, normal process.
With the waterproofing, it would give them a little bit of a leeway, saying that for waterproofing we had to remove it or something.
Yeah.
Apple removed ports all the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Serial printer port.
But
Yeah, but
that's why I'm interested in, like, if they're not gonna say anything, or they're gonna say because it's wireless now, or because we have this Lightning headphone now, right? I'm really interested in what angle they choose.
It turns out we will leave this port with kind of a tier, because I think it has been the oldest port in town since like forever. When was the headphone jack introduced? Like in the 60s?
Yeah.
Or even
like
earlier? I don't know.
Oh, over 100 years. What kind of
Oh, it's even older. Over 100 years.
one?
Not the smaller one. What's the big ones? Like the Sony Walkman, like, but whatever. The small one is like the big one and small. So it's right.
Forever in technology age, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, I get that they get rid of it.
Yeah.
Any other expectations? Are they going to announce a new Mac Pro tonight? What's up with that Mac Pro, by the way?
Like, remember, they also have to mention, sort of do a bit of a review of what they did at DubDub. So obviously, iOS 10 release. They're going to have to talk about that. Probably Sierra as well. I mean, at least a mention.
What would be definitely very, very great would be a new display. I really love the cinema display lineup, but it's not. Yeah, it's. The possibility is very low, but this 5K display, just as a display,
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Going back to what we already said as a dead device, the Apple TV, maybe some 4K. That would be nice.
Do you live in France?
No.
Before we wrap up,
but I have a big hard disk, so that might work.
So before we wrap up, I have a funny story about the screen thing. When I was at the Apple Store in Boston a couple of weeks ago, we were looking for the Mac Pro with my friend. It's a funny game. If you go to an Apple Store, look for the Mac Pro. It's somewhere hidden. And so I actually asked some of the guys at Apple, and like three guys didn't even know where the Mac Pro was, like guys from Apple. And at one point there was this guy who tells me, "Oh, look for the old display." You know, the very thick display, literally, he told me, the very thick display, this is where the Mac Pro is.
Maybe at some point it just became like a trash bin and people forgot about it.
The iTrash bin. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. But before that, you know, it's almost like a tradition of finding old Objective Cologne stuff, and so I found those amazing.
I love that one.
Yeah, you don't have one, right?
I've got one of those.
Yeah, you get the big one.
It's perfect for my daughter.
Because I have the big ones, and I have the small ones, and I have even the 7P ones, which people loved this year, but last year, but this year I went to marketing and there was only one left. So it's not actually true. I actually found it back from last year. And so, but because you have to make a choice what you want, and by the way, I don't even have enough of these. But we will figure out something at one point. I'm gonna ask a question, because so you can have a choice for the, and the question is be very quick, because it's about the Swift evolution list or whatever. So question number one, and you raise your hand, please. You don't shout the answer. Question number one, how many proposals do we have? Oh gosh, Ian, it was on your slide. I don't know if like...
Around 100?
What do you say?
126. I should have said 101.
I was going to say 120 something.
You're good with the 126, because you could have said 101. It's actually 140. I think it was on one of your slides. Was it? By the way. I was just thinking this. So, what are you going for? Are you going for the amazing double-sided 7P? This is like high technology.
I don't really know what that is.
It's for to put in coffee in it. Believe me. And there's only one. There is a reason why there is only one. Are you going for that guy? But what is this? That guy, but in big.
Like the little one, please.
Do you like the little one? And so question number two. Question number two. If you put it on eBay, I'm sure you're going to have $1 million for this. If you so question number two, what was the very first proposal? That's a harder one.
That was
It's the remove the C for loops.
No. This one is actually like.
Is it removing
It's number
plus
7.
plus and minus minus?
Removing currying.
No, it's not. You can show the answers in this case because I'm sure it's going to be hard to find.
Was my guess too.
What's your guess too?
What was removing currying?
Removing currying was number 2. Oh, you're close. You're getting close. If there's if there is no other answer, you will win. But there is number 1. Okay, you win. But number 1 was keywords as arguments labels. And it's actually implemented in what kind of version? Can you guess? 2.2.
Yeah.
So, well, obviously because it's the first open source. So, you want a small one? You want the extra amazing?
Small ones are there?
Yeah, you guys are always taking the. To be honest, they are the nicest one as well. So this is 2013, right? This is like a good wine. Looking at the French guys, they are like, "What are you talking about?" All right, and last question, and for the rest, you will jump on me, or I will figure out something. What is the last one? So, as you guess, it's number 140. And as you probably guess, it's still, it's actually an active review. Active review September 2, September 8. I didn't even know they put dates on when they are actively reviewing.
I already know.
Yeah, you read it.
I already know I can answer, but no.
You read it.
But
reintroduce square brackets.
Actually, I didn't. No.
I bet that no one will.
Reuse square bracket, that would be awesome.
Compatible with Objective-C.
Tell everyone, just kidding.
Come on, try. It's actually the author is Joe Gruff, so it's easy if you like work in the team. Just propose something. It's going to be in review. He's probably reviewing himself. No idea.
Something with generic.
All right, now I'm going to give it to you, and then we can figure out this thing. So this is bridge optional as its payload or NS null.
Would have been my next guess, sorry.
I know it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. And yeah, I will throw them at you. And some of you guys still have to do their homework tomorrow. So tomorrow in the morning, I don't even remember in the morning, we start with Jens. And yeah, and now give them a big round of applause, please, for those guys. All right, that's it, guys. So I think the food is probably already there. Yeah. It is. So thanks to Logistic Chief, Andreas Kern, my colleague. This guy is responsible for all the food, and he was cooking himself like. So yeah, go outside. And be sure to come back at 7.
Can I have one of the small ones?
Yeah, go ahead. I probably don't have enough of those.
But the guy who told you can have vegetarian dishes, probably.